I'll never forgive them for the fourth Hunger Games film. Hi everyone, welcome to my Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes review. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is directed by Francis Lawrence and stars Tom Blurt, Rachel Zegler, Peter Dinklage, and Viola Davis. This is a prequel to the original series. This movie tells the story of young President Snow and how he rose to power. It also follows the story of young Lucy Gray, who is set to play amongst the chosen in the 10th annual Hunger Games. Now, I'm a fan of the original three movies. The final one, the Mockingjay Part 2, I thought was a complete waste. They drawn out those movies so they could profit on it. And it's clear that there was no reason behind splitting the final book into two movies. It was just to make money. They had no purpose doing that, and I think the franchise suffered because of it. I thought the fourth film was just horrendous, and which is kind of sad because it ended the franchise on a whimper instead of a bang. And I really enjoyed the first three movies. They're not perfect films by any means, but they're entertaining enough. And I think that Katniss Everdeen was a good protagonist. She was a good female protagonist for what it was. And yeah, the Fort Hunger Games movie is just god awful. I think it's a crime against cinema. It should have been better. First off the bat, I enjoyed the majority of this film. It's well paced, it's got some entertaining action sequences, and has a pretty intriguing concept. We follow President Snow when he's young, and we know that President Snow becomes an evil person. And here he's a good man. He has an honest heart, and he's there to help. He's there to help his victor to win, and he can tell that he hasn't become the Snow we know yet, and I think that's a pretty good foundation for a good story to explore. Tom Blyth is pretty good as Cornelius Snow. In the original movie, Snow is played by the great Donald Sutherland, and Tom Blyth does a pretty good job getting into character. And I bought his chemistry between him and Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler, I thought she was pretty good here too. She's a very capable actress. She's good in the action scene. She's good in when she has to sing. She has a very good voice. And while I didn't think that she was as entertaining or as interesting as Katniss Everdeen, I think she was still a decent character, and I bought the chemistry she had between Tom Blyth. Maybe they could have made her more interesting, but overall, I liked the Rachel Zegler in this movie. I cared for her, and I also cared and connected with Tom Blyth, who is mostly the main character. He's there for the majority of the runtime, and Tom Blyth does a pretty good job here as President. Though he kind of imitates a young Donald Sutherland, and he's doing a great job at it. And also, Peter Dinklage is here as well. He's great here. I mean, he's Tyrion Lannister. Do I really need to sell you on him? He's just a terrific actor. We also have Viola Davis. In this movie, she plays a despicable character. She's used to it. She plays a despicable character here and in Suicide Squad as well, and she's just great at it here. The film is split into three parts. I enjoyed the first two parts more than the last. I like how they change up the games here. Also, since it's pretty new, they're at the 10th Hunger Games right now in the timeline. They're still experimenting with some of the technology. They send in drones. Also send in a few other elements like snakes to attack the victors. And I felt like they changed it up enough for it to feel different, because every one of these movies, except I think the fourth one, has some Hunger Games in them, and it's important to change things up once in a while. I like the game's location. I thought it was a entertaining action sequence. It was pretty long too, which I appreciated. The soundtrack also takes you back to the Hunger Games universe. It kind of feels like the House of the Dragon theme and the Game of Thrones theme. It's synonymous with the actual franchise, and I feel like they did a good job here with the music. I think the last part of the movie is where things feel a bit rushed, and I understand that maybe it was in the book, so they sort of had to put it in, but it feels like they should have it should have been part of another film. Now, I know this is the story that they wanted to tell, but it really drags this movie down, and it sort of rushes also to the finish line. Um, it feels like this movie needed more time to develop the ending, and it needed another movie for that ending. And I didn't feel like it wasted my time overall, but it should have been better, and perhaps should have been executed better. The impact at the ending was just left me kind of indifferent. It wasn't really well executed in my opinion, but I enjoyed this movie overall. I was just very let down by the last act of this movie. Not that it's terrible, it just feels like it belongs in a completely different movie. Um, and it sort of leaves things open ended. You're not really sure what happens in near the last act of the film. But I digress. I like the film overall. It's just that the last act really bogs things down, and it's not unwatchable, but it certainly doesn't. It throws away the momentum in this movie. It doesn't help it at all, and I think it goes on for maybe at least 20 minutes more than it should have, which isn't really good, I guess. But hey, that's the way it is. Overall, I think the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, isn't a bad entry in the universe. It's worth seeing if you're a Hunger Games fan. It's much better than Part Four, which I think was stretched so thin. It's almost unbelievable. It's well acted, has a pretty entertaining action sequences, but does have a rather frustrating ending, which does not live up to the promise of the first two acts. That's I think the biggest gripe I have with this movie. It's the way it ends, the entire last third act. So yeah, overall, I think I would put my rating at B minus. It's not a terrible movie. It's worth seeing if you're a Hunger Games fan for sure. But yeah, it's pretty serviceable. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's fine. It's a good time at the movies. So yeah, let me know what you thought about the movie down in the comments below. Please subscribe. See you next time.